Episode 2 begins with a scene at Haesun Hospital. A counselor is seen convincing her clients by saying that in 1985, Haesun became the first hospital in the country to successfully produce a test tube baby. Since then, it has been recognized as one of the best hospitals in the world for freezing sperm, eggs, and embryos. Suddenly, a furious man appears and starts creating chaos inside the hospital. He yells, "You claim to be the best in the world? Then give me back my sperm." In his anger, he even damages one of the machines. Security guards rush in and restrain him. The scene shifts to Lee Jin, who shows a video of this incident to Yoon. Lee Jin explains that the hospital has filed a lawsuit against the man, demanding 423 million won in damages for breaking the equipment. Yoon remarks that the compensation seems a bit too high, but Lee Jin points to the video and clarifies that one single machine alone costs 600 million won. Yoon then asks if the client can afford to pay such a huge amount, and Lee Jin replies that he cannot. He further adds that their law firm's management wants to focus on this case because the hospital was once connected to their corporate department. However, due to certain legal disputes, they lost all hospital clients. Now, Mr. Koch wants them to use this case as a way to take revenge. Yoon agrees, but he wonders why the man created such a scene at the hospital. Lee Jin replies that only by meeting him can they know the real reason. He mentions that the man has been called to their office for a meeting in 2 days. Yoon then tells Lee Jin to assign this case to the new recruits, and Lee Jin confirms that he will brief Ho Min and Hyun about it. Yoon checks his watch and quickly leaves the office, saying he needs to head home. Ho Min notices him leaving in a hurry and calls out to him, but he ignores her and walks away. Curious, she asks Lee Jin why attorney Yoon always leaves early on Fridays. Lee Jin replies that he goes to meet his child. Shocked, Ho Min wonders if Yoon really has a child. Meanwhile, Yoon is seen going to a kennel, where dogs are kept. There, he meets his pet dog, named Hus. He takes Hus home, bathes him, and happily spends the entire day playing with him before returning him to the kennel in the evening. On the other side, Mr. Chae-yeon, the same man who had created havoc at the hospital, is seen sneaking into the hospital at night, searching for something. But by accident, he drops an item, which alerts the security. He tries to escape but is caught again. The next day, at the office, Lee Jin, Yoon, and the team wait for Mr. Chae-yeon, who was supposed to attend the meeting. After waiting a long time, he doesn't show up. Lee Jin asks Hyun to call and check. Hyun makes the call and finds out that Chae-yeon has been arrested by the police. Yoon and Lee Jin then visit the police station as his lawyers. When they meet Chae-yeon, he refuses their help, saying he doesn't need lawyers. He explains that he has already hired many lawyers before, but all of them took advantage of him and stole his money. Now, he plans to handle the case himself. Lee Jin warns him that it's not so simple. He has been accused of vandalism, breaking into the hospital at night, and other serious charges. Soon, a warrant will be issued, and he could face jail time. Chae-yeon angrily replies that all lawyers are the same and just talk in circles. Yoon calmly says, "You're right. All lawyers do seem the same, because once we study law, our perspective of the world changes. But the truth is, you will never win this case in court." Hearing this, Chae-yeon becomes nervous and asks how they can judge him without even knowing his side of the story. Yoon responds, "If that were the case, at least one lawyer would have taken your case by now. The fact that no one has shows how difficult it is." Chae-yeon then pleads, "There must be some way you can help me." Yoon replies, "We can only help after we hear your full story. One thing is certain, we'll fight for you not just inside the courtroom but outside as well. We won't abandon you." After a moment of silence, Chae-yeon finally opens up. He says, "It all began a year ago. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The doctor told me that surgery could leave me infertile, meaning I would never be able to father a child. So, I decided to store my sperm at Haesun Hospital. But when the time came for the test tube baby procedure, they told me that my sperm had been damaged. They ruined everything." Tears roll down his face as he begs for their help. Yoon reassures him, saying, "All right, first let's uncover the truth." The next day, attorney Han, Ho Min's boyfriend, arrives at Yulim Law Firm, representing the hospital in the upcoming meeting. After keeping him waiting for a while, Mr. Han is finally called into the conference room. Yoon, along with his team, sits across from him. Han begins. As you know, when someone causes destruction and obstructs hospital operations, the compensation amount doubles. Not only that, but such actions can also lead to jail time. However, out of sympathy for Mr. Gi-beom's situation, we have decided to settle for just 400 million won. If he pays this amount by the end of the month and signs an agreement to stay away from the hospital, we will consider the matter closed. Yoon calmly responds, but our client has also suffered a huge loss. His precious sperm was destroyed due to the hospital's negligence. Our claim for damages is 500 million won. Even if we deduct the hospital's losses, you still owe Mr. Gi-beom at least 100 million won. Settle that, and we can close this case here. Han slams the table in anger. Is this some kind of joke? If you wanted to take this matter to court, then why waste my time here? Before leaving, he warns them that they will see each other in court. Yoon replies, that's fine. We'll see you there. After Han leaves, one of the juniors asks Yoon, was the claim of 500 million true? Yoon shakes his head. No. I just said that to increase our bargaining power. In reality, the case could be settled for maybe 10 or 20 million. The important thing is to strengthen our negotiation leverage, so the hospital agrees to compensate. Ho-min objects, but what if he had gotten angry and told us to take it to court? What would you have done then? Yoon replies confidently, if he really intended to fight in court, he wouldn't have come here in the first place. Ho-min argues. Still, that was the wrong approach. Hearing this, Yoon scolds her sharply. Do you have a better solution? If not, don't question my methods. Ho-min lowers her gaze in silence, upset. Yoon adds, forget about that now. Instead, find a way we can settle this case outside of court. He looks around the room, and everyone nods in agreement, though Ho-min, clearly offended by his words, gives a reluctant nod in a low voice. The next day, Yoon, Ho-min, and Han visit Gi-beom to hear his complete story, as Yoon has another meeting to attend later. But Gi-beom says he cannot speak openly in front of a woman. Ho-min quickly replies, that's fine. I'll hear everything later from Attorney Han, and quietly leaves the room. Outside, Yoon follows her and says, why didn't you defend yourself? You just gave up without saying a word. If you can't even stand up for yourself, how will you ever fight for your clients as a lawyer? After saying this, he walks away. Fuming, Ho-min mutters, who does he think he is? If he tries that again, I'll give him a piece of my mind. While she is angrily talking to herself, Attorney Yeon sees her. Startled, Ho-min freezes. Yeon smiles and asks, so you think he looks like a grumpy man, don't you? Embarrassed, Ho-min admits, yes. Yeon then reassures her, he only looks cold on the outside, but inside, he's actually a very kind person. Amon sighs and says, it doesn't seem like it to me. Maybe it's because you're a senior, you don't have to face his torture like we juniors do. Yeon smiles and replies, that's not true. I worked with him as a paralegal for 3 years back in law school. He isn't as bad as he looks. Hearing this, Ho-min thinks to herself in disbelief. 3 years as his paralegal and she's still alive? How is that even possible? Later, Han finally returns to the office, 2 hours late. When Ho-min asks what happened, he admits that he couldn't understand a single thing Mr. Gi-beom had said. But he had recorded the entire conversation so that Ho-min could listen to it later. That night, Ho-min carefully listens to the recording. Immediately, she realizes something important and calls Mr. Gi-beom, asking him to come for a meeting the next day. When he arrives, Ho-min firmly tells him, today, you will only talk to me. Gi-beom looks a little uncomfortable, but she tries her best to make him feel at ease. Finally, he opens up. After the meeting, Ho-min rushes straight into Yoon's office, excitement on her face. Yoon looks up and asks, what happened? She replies, I found the weak spot. With this, we can completely crush them. The next day in court, Yoon presents his argument. It was the hospital's responsibility to safeguard our client's sperm. But due to their negligence, the samples were damaged beyond use. For this, we demand compensation of 500 million won. Attorney Han smirks and responds, acknowledging that there may have been some mishandling, we are willing to cover the damages, between 10 to 20 million won. But demanding 500 million? That's absurd. The judge interrupts, if you claim the sperm was worth 500 million won, then provide proof. Yoon then asks permission to directly question his client. He turns to Gi-beom and asks, why did you destroy the hospital's property that day? With a heavy voice, Gi-beom explains that upon hearing his sperm was destroyed, he completely lost control. Just then, the courtroom doors open, and a woman enters, her body half-burned. Ji-beom's eyes well up with tears as he introduces her. This is my wife, Kenny. The woman I love more than anything in this world. He continues his heartbreaking story. 2 years ago, I proposed to Kenny. But that very night, she met with a horrific accident. Half her body was burned. She couldn't bear the shock and pulled away from me. I tried everything to win her back, but her mental health deteriorated. After months of trying, she finally agreed to marry me, but even then, she wasn't fully healed. Later, when Kenny started spending time with her sister's child, she began to smile again. That child gave her hope. She told me one day, I want a child of my own. I want to see my old face reflected in our baby. Ji-beom pauses, his voice breaking. But then I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The doctors told me that after treatment, I would never be able to father a child again. We discussed everything with Haesun Hospital and explained the situation in detail. The hospital assured us they would take good care of Ji-beom's sperm samples. But after his surgery, when the couple went back to begin the test tube baby process, they were shocked to discover that the sperm had been ruined. To make matters worse, the hospital staff mocked his wife, calling her a monster. At this point, Han realizes the case has completely turned against them. Even if they somehow win, the hospital's reputation will be destroyed because a journalist in the courtroom has been writing down the entire story. As soon as Ji-beom finishes speaking, Jung calmly argues, by law, if special circumstances are known in advance, then responsibility for such special damages also falls on the party at fault. The hospital must compensate. Hearing this, Han quickly requests a short break from the judge. Outside the courtroom, he approaches Yoon to settle, insisting the press must not learn more about the case. He finally agrees to pay Ji-beom 100 million won. Later, it's revealed that the reporter in court was actually invited there by Yoon himself. Meanwhile, Ho-min remembers a personal moment from the past, when Han had once proposed to her. Back then, she had opened up about her sister, who cannot hear. She explained that her aunt had the same condition, and when they were just 5 years old, her parents let her aunt adopt her sister, believing she would be better cared for there. Her sister looked just like her, except with longer hair. Ho-min had even thought about cutting her own hair to look identical, but before that could happen, her mother gave her sister away. Han had been stunned by this story and had asked, "Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" Instead of offering comfort, he broke up with her and walked away. Back at the office, attorney Lee Jin gets into a heated argument with a corporate department lawyer. Litigation lawyers like him rarely need the corporate side, but he complains that they drag out 2 hours of work into 3 full days. Do-yoon, the head of the corporate department, intervenes, asking why Lee Jin is yelling. Lee Jin explains that he gave a task to a junior attorney that should have been completed in half a day, but 3 days later, the junior still claimed not to understand. Do-yoon snaps back, "And who are you to assign work to another team's junior?" Just then, Yoon himself walks in and says, "I told him to." According to the committee's decision, if one attorney has fewer billable hours, other teams are allowed to assign them work. Yoon then firmly scolds Do-yoon. At that moment, the managing director's son enters. He too sides with the corporate attorney because that attorney is his relative. But Yoon is fearless. He mocks him openly, calling him a freeloader who eats without earning it. Ho-min quietly asks, "Who is that guy?" Attorney Heron whispers, "That's Ko Tae-seop, the founder's son." Ko Tae-seop angrily warns Yoon, "Stay in your place, or I'll have you demoted to a small firm just like your former boss." But Yoon replies calmly, "Everyone here heard you admit that you conspired to send attorney Na-yoon away to a small company. That's proof enough." Embarrassed, Ko Tae-seop looks around at the silent office and quickly walks out without another word. Later that night, Ho-min is still working late when she receives a call from her friend. The friend tells her that Han is out on a date with another woman. Shocked, Ho-min rushes to see for herself. She doesn't confront him directly, but makes it clear through her expressions that she knows. Whatever little feelings she still had left for Han are now completely gone. Heartbroken, she stands quietly in the office, lost in thought. Just then, Yoon appears and asks, "Why are you still here? Haven't you gone home yet?" Ho-min replies softly, "I have to submit a letter by tomorrow morning." Yoon offers, "Then how about some tea?" She looks surprised, but then nods shyly. A little later, Yoon makes tea for both of them, and the two sit together discussing Ji-beom's case. As he gets up to leave, Yoon tells her, "You handled Mr. Ji-beom's case very well." Hearing this, a smile finally spreads across Ho-min's face. And with that heartwarming moment, the episode comes to an end. Thanks for watching.